Who was your first crush at Port Hacking High School?
Don't give me that face. Lauren Bacon. I have to be honest with that. Yeah, because she's actually the first girl I talked to. Because she actually come into the school with me at the same time, and yeah, so Lauren Bacon. Yeah.
Okay, Anthony. So who was your first crush?
Well, my first crush was Bree Morgan.
My first crush is Nicole Hutton in year 7. So.
So who was your first crush? It's Jack Kesey, the only tall boy in the grade at the time. And who was your first crush? Luke Wright.
Maddie Reid.
Brittany Everson, year 7. Dumped by note. Kirsty Lowe.
Baz.
Sam Thomas.
Chloe Barker.
Nicole Hutton.
Chris, who was your first crush at Port Hacking High School?
My first crush was Aisha Khalid, and we met at orientation day. And yeah.
Osmo, who was your first crush in year 7?
Sudarat.
Nadine, who was your first crush?
My first crush was Luke Causey when we were going out.
My first crush was Aisha.
Who was your first crush?
Blake Craig.
Hi Jackson, we're now joined here live with Carly Barter and Emily Osborne on who was their first crush.
My first crush was Luke Wright because we both had blonde hair.
My first crush was Matt Andrews, I think. I think he was smart, so yeah.
My first crush was in Year 7 Science with Matt Ulrich, but Carly Barter was a close second.
Who was your first crush?
My first crush was Brooke Renneberg and Brie Cooper.
Our first crush was the canteen.
Who was your first crush?
Probably Aisha.
My first crush was Stephanie Della.
Jackson.
Who was your first crush, Charlotte?
It was you.
Yeah, good.
My first crush at Port Hacking was Jordan LeMaison.
Chris, who was your first teacher's crush?
My first teacher's crush would have to be Miss Hammoud.
Sonia, who was your first teacher crush?
It was Mr. Alouche until Mr. Cameron came. He took me into the world.
Nadine, who was your first teacher's crush?
I had a few. It started out with Mr. Bowen, then it moved its way up to Mr. Alouche, but now currently Mr. Cameron.
Who was your first teacher crush?
Well, as soon as Mr. Cameron walked into school, oh my god, yeah.
Who was your teacher crush?
Okay, well, I have many teacher crushes. I've written them down on a piece of paper. Number 1, Mr. Alouche. Number 2, Mr. Cameron. Number 3, Mr. McLaughlin. Number 4, Mr. Redrup, that accent. And of course, Mr. Ang, because we had some great times in France.
I think you all know who my teacher crush is. Wang Boy!
Mr. Cameron, Mr. Alouche, Mr. Bowen. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
My teacher crush would probably have to be.
Yeah, probably Morehouse McGee. Yeah, definitely. Miss Morehouse, will you go to the formal with us, please? Please.
My teacher crush is Mrs. Royal. That's why I'm in the library now. Unfortunately, she's not here today, so.
My teacher crush technically isn't a teacher, but I do have a massive crush on Dave because he's just a babe.
My teacher crush is Mr. Cameron.
Teacher crush was my year 11 English teacher, Miss Davies. She thought I was special.
Oh, that's nice. And what would your best memory at Port Hacking be?
Probably a ski trip. I remember I was skiing down the slope and then I crashed into the post. It was really funny. Got back up, continued skiing down that hill. I was like, yeah.
It's very inspirational. Thank you.
So, who was your first teacher crush?
Mr. Alouche. Just those eyes, they light up my world.
And Talia?
I'm going to have to say Mr. McGrath. That day that I walked into that interview room when I was in year 6, I just couldn't keep my eyes off him.
Thank you, girls.
Miss Hammoud. Oh, Miss Hammoud.
Yeah, Miss Hammoud. She's
Miss Hammoud.
My teacher crush at Port Hacking would have to be Miss Boljaric because, you know, she's hot and smart and, yeah.
Hi, we're here live on Jersey Day, joined by Grace Island and Bronte Sire. Now, just a quick question. Who is your favourite teacher crush?
Miss Cameron. Mr. Cameron, Mr. Butler.
Oh wait,
Mr.
maybe
Cameron.
Mr. Redruff as well.
Yeah, Mr. Redruff.
It's close.
Miss Nichols, she's pretty hot.
Our first teacher crush is Mr. Bowen. Woo!
Okay. My first teacher crush would have had to be Tyler McLaughlin. He was my first. Who's yours? Alush.
Hi, I'm here live with Bree Cooper. We're experiencing gale force winds at the moment. They are very strong. Bree, listen to me. What is your first teacher's crush?
Ooh, gotta be McLaughlin, Mr. Alush. Don't know. I mean, I only did surfing because Mr. Alush took it, so I'm gonna have to go Alush.
What about Mr. Cameron? There is a lot of speculation about him.
Yeah, wouldn't mind Mr. Cameron.
All right, thank you for your time.
What is your best memory at Port Hacking?
when I fell down a cliff at PE camp.
My best memory at Port Hacking High is meeting my awesome fiance and having awesome times with him.
Most memorable moment in Port Hacking High? Nathan Eager tried to score the basketball from half court, missed the backboard, hit Brad in the head, then he hit his head in the fence. He passed out for like a couple of seconds, I think.
Nadine, what is your best memory at high school?
My best memory is tanning on the field with Sonia, casually watching the boys play football.
It's pretty lame.
So my most memorable moment at Port Hacking was when I first participated in the swimming carnival in year 11. Everyone was just shocked when I came first in the heat of 50 meters breaststroke. So yeah.
My most memorable moment was in year 9 when I first came to this school, and Sarah Ferchel hated me for some unknown reason. And towards the end of year 9, she called me over one day in the playground and she said, "Charlotte, come here." So I walked over and she goes, "I finally approve of you." And she wrote "approved" on my arm in pink highlighter.
What was a memorable moment you've had with year 12?
One day we were in a class and Jimmy Lombardo asked for a drink and he got a water bottle off someone and there was a floating toenail and he drank it. Yeah, it was pretty good. Yummy.
It would have to be last year's year 11 PE camp and watching the Wolf Pack, aka Izzy, Brianna, Hannah and Sarah, sneak out of their tents and army roll across thinking that we didn't see them. Sorry girls, but you left the light on in your tent. Also, any moment in year 12 dance and just listening to Nadine say anything and listening to these girls' reactions is quite funny. So they would have to be my most memorable moments, I suppose. And also watching Tom serenade me in year 11 PE. That was quite good too.
Memorable thing or favourite thing about year 12 is seeing a few of you turn from absolute pests into mature, half normal people. Osmer and Ahmed are probably prime examples of that. They're great guys now, but used to be absolute pests. Thank you.
What I love about year 12 is watching them grow and achieve and turn out to be quite handsome and beautiful looking girls. And I suppose the other thing I like about year 12 is watching them go on their muck-up day and say goodbye to us. That's fairly sad.
What's your most memorable moment with year 12?
That's a bit difficult to say, but I did take a very small group of year 12s to France. And there was one occasion where it was a bit of a shock. I think the students got more of a shock than I did, because there was really I don't think you're allowed to jump on the beds at home, and we tried doing that when we were staying in France. Well, they now know why you don't jump on beds. So they might live with that for the rest of their lives. But it was okay. It worked out okay.
What do you love about Year 12?
What I love a bit about Year 12 is from the first time that I taught them when they were in Year 9 a few years back, seeing their growth and the energy that they have for life and the independence that they now have. And they're a great bunch of people.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. So, Miss Hammoud, what do you love about Year 12?
Okay, what do I love about Year 12? From the very beginning, from Year 7, they've showed a balance between doing, being academic and also sporting, and they know how to have fun. They've all got different personalities, and they're just a great bunch of students. So,
what do you love most about Year 12?
I think the time when I realised what a great bunch of people the Year 12s were was when I listened to the speeches for the prefects. And I'd only been at the school for 3 terms, and I went in to listen to them, and there were 24 outstanding candidates for the prefect for our year. And I have to say, I felt that the decision was a really, really difficult one to make. And I think that the strength of this year is highlighted in the people who weren't elected, because the people who weren't elected all would have made fantastic prefects, and there certainly would have been some people in there who could have made fantastic captains as well. And that's not to say that the group that was elected weren't outstanding. It's just a year of really outstanding leaders and outstanding people, and I certainly think they'll go on to make a difference. And I congratulate all the people who nominated for the prefects. I thought they were wonderful.